This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome to Seek Reality with your host, Roberta Grimes. Author and attorney Roberta Grimes will explore and illustrate how she, after an extraordinary experience of light in childhood, has discovered channels of communication to the afterlife and how these implications have an effect on our everyday lives. Please welcome the host of Seek Reality, Roberta Grimes.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I am so happy that you're with us today. My dear, wonderful Australian friend, Wendy Zammit, is one of the world's leading experts in the whole broad field of afterlife science. She and her husband, of course, Victor Zammit. They share liberally what they know in their terrific book, A Lawyer Presents the Evidence for the Afterlife, and in their Friday Afterlife Report. And you could sign up to get their free weekly report just by going to victorzammit.com, VICTORZAMMIT.com. It's the best news you'll read all week. One of the Zammit's particular interests is in the rare and exotic phenomenon of physical mediumship. They've investigated 12 different physical mediums in 5 different countries, and they've had more than 200 sittings with materialization medium. I've met him too. He's wonderful. David Thompson. A century and even more than a century ago, there were really, really good physical mediums. But they were working at a time when dishonest debunkers were rampant, and those Luddite fools managed to obfuscate and drive underground what was perhaps the most convincing public proof of an afterlife ever yet developed. One of the exciting things about working in the field of afterlife studies right now is that interest in physical mediumship is finally on the rise again, and this time the debunkers are not going to be able to shoot it down. At the AREI Symposium, September 15th to 17th of 2017, there will be programs on physical mediumship. There'll be a bunch of development circles represented there, and it's going to be really an eye-opener for many people. And Wendy and I wanted to tell you more about it just because it's going to be a surprise to you, and it is such an important phenomenon. Welcome, Wendy. I'm thrilled that you're here.
Thank you, Roberta. It's wonderful to be with you, and particularly about talking about my favorite topic, physical mediumship.
I keep teasing Wendy she's got to write a book on it, and it's always on her list, but it never gets above number 2, I think. But we'll do that at some point. Please tell people, what is physical mediumship? How does it differ from mental mediumship, which is what we're familiar with?
Well, in mental mediumship, the medium is the only one who sees, hears, or senses the spirit person. The medium gets the message and relays it to the client. There need be only 2 people present, or actually these days the medium can be there on their own and getting the message and putting it on Skype or the phone. And mental mediumship usually takes place in the light. Physical mediumship almost always takes place in the dark. The medium is often unconscious, in deep trance, and you need a group of people present to generate the power. So you can't just have a physical mediumship session on your own at any time. But it's all the people who are present who get to hear and feel the spirits directly. And it's a very, very rare kind of mediumship.
Well, it's rare now, that's for sure. I've been to exactly one seance with David Thompson, and I found it amazing. It's incredible to me that these things were happening. But tell us, what are some of the things that happen at these seances you've seen? You've been to many more than I have.
Oh, well, just amazing things happen, Roberta. You get people materializing. My own father materialized. He walked across the room. He talked to me in his own voice. He put his arms around me. He kissed me.
Wow.
He even wrote his name on a piece of paper, his signature, and pushed it into my hand. Just absolutely amazing things happen. Animals materialize. I can remember the time when David Thompson's pet rat was materialized in a home circle,
Rat.
and they put it on his lap, and there's this rat. Birds materialize and fly around the room. We've got tape recordings of dogs materializing. They materialize and run across the room and put their feet on their master's knees, and you can hear them barking. It's just unbelievable.
Well, now people are saying, what do you mean materialize? It seems to you that this person is there and solid. Your dad hugged you and it really was your dad and he was solid?
Absolutely, Roberta.
Wow.
They in some kinds of, now not all physical mediums can do this. This is one of the things I want to get across to people, that it's not horses for courses. Do you know what I mean? It's like a lot of people say, oh, I will go to a physical mediumship seance and be reunited with my loved one. It doesn't work that way. I think we need to explain from the beginning that there are many different types of physical medium. And it's just like a swimming team. Just because you're in the swimming team, it doesn't mean you can swim the English Channel. There's different kinds of mediums, and I thought we might talk about some of those.
Why don't we hold that till we come back? We're going to take a break. We've just started to talk about what is an incredible, incredible field. So please stick with us. Again, Roberta Grimes, I'm here with Wendy Zammit, and we will be right back.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
So, Wendy, let's talk about what are some of the things that can happen? What are some of those phenomena that you're talking about? We were in the middle of discussing.
Well, there are different kinds of physical mediumship. Some physical circles just focus on bangs and raps and spirit lights and balls moving around, but there's no communication happening. Pardon me. Others get what's called table tipping. Now, a table tipping seance can be quite fun. What happens is that the people put their hands on the top of the table and the table rocks around, but people can communicate with the table by going through the alphabet. So they'll have a code. It's kind of like, somebody will go through A, B, C, D, and the table will tilt at the letter of the word they want to communicate.
Yes.
I mean, I've been to table tipping seances where the table for all the world is like a dog. It's alive. And as soon as they turn the lights out, you hear the table rocking backwards and forwards. Sometimes the table will lift up. It will go right up to the ceiling, and the people will be struggling to keep their hands on the top of the table. It's a lot of fun and a lot of excitement. But again, it's different kind of phenomena to some of the other ones. You can get transfiguration, where the face of the medium will change. Transfiguration mediumship usually takes place in dim red light. But you can see the face of the medium change. Sometimes you'll get 20 faces, one after the other. It's just like flick, 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 and you might be lucky enough to see your own loved one's face. Sometimes but different transfiguration mediums work differently. Sometimes the face will develop a layer of ectoplasm over it, and you can actually see the one face, and that person will actually talk to their loved ones. Sometimes in transfiguration mediumship, the body will change of the medium. We've actually been in a transfiguration seance where you can see not only the face change, but you can actually see the feathers of an Indian. You can see the headdress. The whole head changes. Wow. And or the person becomes like an old man. With Gordon Garforth's seance, one of his hands would be elongated, and you could watch it. It became much bigger than the other hand.
Oh, my goodness. That's incredible.
It is incredible.
The whole thing is incredible.
The whole thing about physical mediumship is that it is sensational and unbelievable. And that's why people are very skeptical about it, because they think it's fraudulent.
Explain ectoplasm, please. Ectoplasm, please, because many people sort of don't know what it is.
Yeah, well, everybody has. Ectoplasm is the medium's life force. It's made out of white blood cells. It's taken from the pancreas. It's got sugar in it, but it's taken from the medium and from the sitters in a physical seance. It comes out initially in the form of like a white gaseous substance. It comes out through the pores of the skin. It comes out through the mouth. It comes out through the nose, through the ears. And in some seances work with ectoplasm, not all. Some physical mediums, some physical circles use an energy. You had the skull experiment Foy on recently. Yeah. And they were working not with ectoplasm, they worked with pure with energy. Even some physical mediums, even right back in the 1930s, worked with energy. They didn't work with ectoplasm at all. But David Thompson's medium, his spirit control, William, he always said, sometimes the old ways are the best because they feel they have more control over it. But the problem with working with ectoplasm is that it's very, very sensitive to light. And if there is ectoplasm being used and the light is turned on, the ectoplasm will go straight back into the medium, like with the force of elastic. And the medium can be hurt or even seriously injured. We saw recently a photo of Scott Milligan, who works with ectoplasm even today, and somebody had touched the ectoplasm, and he had a terrible burn all over his stomach, where it just goes straight back to the solar plexus.
Oh my.
Yes.
Well, and we'll just briefly say who the control is. William is he lived in the 1800s, did he? And
that's he said he died in 1890, and he's a very old-fashioned English scholarly gentleman who leads the spirit team on the other side for David Thompson, and he always is the one to materialize first, and he's a very wise gentleman who answers questions about the spirit world.
This is all amazing. Several different kinds of mediums, of physical mediums. Another kind is direct voice mediums, and this is a kind that particularly interests me. Tell us about that, Wendy.
Well, a lot of your listeners would have heard of Leslie Flint. He was a direct voice medium who lived between 1911 and 1994. Now, with direct voice mediumship, the medium, sometimes they're conscious. Sometimes Leslie Flint was one of the ones that was very conscious, and he would be able to be sitting there taking part in the conversation. He would be talking to the spirit people. But the spirit people, it's completely different to trance mediumship. I often hear people say, "Oh yes, I know what direct voice mediumship is. People go into trance and they talk." No, it's completely different to channeling. Yes. It's completely different. What happens in direct voice mediumship is that the spirits will take ectoplasm from the medium's body and create a separate voice box, which usually sits on the medium's shoulder. Sometimes we've been working with David, and they'll be doing direct voice, and he'll say, "Oh, I can feel the ectoplasm coming out of my body. I can feel the weight of the voice box sitting on my shoulder."
How big is it, Wendy? Is it a big voice box, or is it the size of the...
Probably the size of an orange.
Really?
And there are photos on the internet where they have been able to take infrared light photos of the voice box. There's at least 3 photos that I know of with different mediums, and it's all structured pretty much the same. It's absolutely fascinating physics. They model the voice box on the voice box of the medium, so they have just one voice box for all the spirits coming through. And this is one of the reasons that with a direct voice seance, the voices have got a little bit of the quality of the medium in them, because the voice box is made from the medium's body, and it's modeled on the medium's voice box. It's fascinating how direct voice works.
It is. I mean, my personal interest in it is, of course, the fact that Thomas Jefferson spoke through Leslie Flint's voice box in 1960. And what is astonishing is, of course, these people in spirit don't have physical bodies. They can't talk with their own voice box, which doesn't exist. So they've got to remember how they sounded and somehow modify that voice box that's on the medium's shoulder to sound like them, and then speak. And what's amazing to me is how accurate his voice was. I mean, I shared a lifetime with him, and the minute I heard that voice, I was overcome. It was the same voice. It was amazing.
Your listeners can listen to some of the voices from Leslie Flint on the internet. I think they're personally, I think they're some of the best evidence for the afterlife ever. What was wonderful was that there were 2 people who worked with Leslie Flint for 30 years recording the voices.
Yes.
And the spirit team on the other side said, "Okay, you've got this set up. This is going to be the most wonderful 30-year demonstration of the afterlife. We're going to bring through everybody from different levels of society, from kings and queens to poor homeless beggars, and they're going to talk to you through Leslie Flint about what happened when they died." Now, these tapes are all on the internet, and there were these 2 wonderful people. People forget how amazing they were, Mr. George Woods and Mrs. Betty Green. And they sat with Leslie Flint with every seance for nearly 30 years, and they were the ones who would talk to the spirits. They would say, "Okay, welcome here. Tell us how you died, who met you, what happened, where did you go, what did you learn from your lifetime?" And all of those questions are available for us to listen to, thanks to the work of Jack Andrews and Carl Jackson Barnes. They've converted all the old tapes into digital format and put a lot of them on YouTube. So all you have to do is go onto YouTube and type in Leslie Flint Mediumship, and you can listen to some of these tapes.
And that's Leslieflynt. Leslie Flint.
F-L-I-N-T.
F-L-I? I thought it was a Y. All right.
No, F-L-I-N-T.
So glad you're here to keep me honest. The Leslieflynt. So
now look,
you can just listen.
Sorry. What I would strongly recommend people to do is to listen to what's called the Annie Nanji tapes. That's A-N-N-A-N-J-I. Now, this is sensational. They've got more than 60 conversations, each about half an hour long, between a man who is living, this was Dr. Nanji, and his wife who was in the spirit world.
Yes, I remember.
Annie.
Yeah.
Now, look, this is sensational. This is not just a few words like hello. This is like a half an hour, two-way conversation between two intelligent, articulate people. And she's talking about, oh, darling, I came and saw you last night, and you were out of your body last night. We met each other in the spirit world, and we went and saw these people, and we did this.
Yeah.
This is absolute. I mean, this is the most stunning evidence of the afterlife.
And many famous people whose voices you'll recognize spoke through Leslie Flint, 20th century folks who were, celebrities. So that's part of the fun of it, too. You get to hear the voice again, only what came after the person died. Is anybody now doing direct voice the way that Leslie Flint did?
Well, as far as I know, there are 3 in the whole world who are doing there may be a lot more who are doing it privately, but there are 3 who are doing it public to members of the public. Number 1, you've got David Thompson, our medium. And of course, the only problem with David now is that he's not doing very many seances. He's living in New Zealand and he has a young family. And so he's not traveling as much as he used to do. There's Stuart Alexander, who's a wonderful medium in England, but he's almost retired. I think he does about 1 seance a year, and you've got to be really part of the physical mediumship inner circle to go to him. Now, the one that your listeners could go to
Let's save that till we come after this break. We'll come right back and we'll find out who the third one is. Everyone, stay tuned. This is Roberta Grimes.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
We had to take a break, and now we're going to hear about the third person who's doing direct voice mediumship, and maybe we could visit her if I were or having a relationship with this person in some way. Who is it?
His name is Scott Milligan. He's a young man. He's only about 32. Lovely, lovely young fellow, but he's been developing mediumship since he was 15. He's very, very experienced. He's probably the most knowledgeable person that I know about physical mediumship these days.
Really?
He's a good friend of David Thompson, and he sat with David in the early days. He's got some amazing stories about sitting with David. One of the stories that he told us the other day is that he was present when David materialized a baby elephant. Can you imagine that?
No, I can't.
A baby elephant and his mahout. Apparently, one of the people in the audience had loved this baby elephant and cried when it died. And so, I mean, and some of the stories that Scott has to talk about he sat with Colin Fry and with David. Now, Scott sits at a place in England called the Banyan Centre, Banyan. That's a centre for physical mediumship in Kent. And they have public seances every couple of months. And people from America go over there to sit. Sandra Champlain, our friend Sandra,
Yes.
went last week, and she's a couple of months ago she went.
Yes.
And she sat with Scott, and she is just over the moon about physical mediumship.
Yes.
It is just so sensational. But sorry, Roberta, your turn.
Well, my turn. All right. Sandra is, as we know, very adventurous and has to try everything for herself. And so she's fun. Just anyone who has not heard her podcast really needs to. Sandra Champlain, Champlain, because she's always got something new and interesting people she interviews. But so if someone goes, let's say someone says, okay, great, I want to go to Britain, I want to sit with this person, they need to understand that it's not like when you go to a mental medium and that mental medium has your family in the room and you're going to get to talk to people, maybe not the one you wanted to talk to, but people will come through for you. This isn't like that, because there usually are like 30 people in the room, and not everyone will have a visitation. When I was in that one, there were several people, 3 or 4, who got spectacular meetings with dead loved ones, but of course I wasn't one of them. So
Yes,
we have to be prepared for that.
I think that's very important, Roberta. I often hear people say, oh, this direct voice mediumship is wonderful. I want to hear from my mother and my father and my brother and my Auntie Flo. It's not like mental mediumship. In fact, I always tell people, if they want to talk to a specific person and they want to have a reunion, go and have a reading with a good mental medium, somebody recommended. And they can have a whole hour all for themselves, getting messages from their loved ones. Now, if you go into a physical seance, and there's a few things that will determine who comes through. First of all, you may go to a session and it might be that there are no reunions that night. Sometimes William would say to the group, what do you want to do tonight? Do you want to see the ectoplasm in red light, or do you want to have reunions? Or he might say, tonight we're not going to do any reunions, we're going to do experiments. So it's up to the group to decide what's going to happen, or it might be up to the spirit team.
Right.
And even if there are reunions, a lot will depend on the need of the people from the other side who gets to come through. Apparently, I can remember Suzanne Wilson's grandfather told her this, that on the other side they have a whole group of people assembling, and they're all taught about how to do the mediumship. It's not easy from the other side. We've had spirits say that it's like trying to speak with your head underwater.
Oh, really?
Some of them say it's like, having this material draped all over their body. And we've had some spirits who just can't do it. I can remember one night we were in a seance, and most loved son was trying to come through, and all he could manage was like a couple of garbled sounds, and then he dropped out. He just couldn't do it. So it will be up to the spirit team to decide who are the 3 people who are going to come through that night. If there are reunions, there might be 30 people in the room and there are 3 reunions.
Yes.
And it will depend on the one who really needs to get a message through. It might be, I can remember one, very often it will be somebody who committed suicide who comes through, whose parents are grieving, or somebody, we've had people who were murdered who come through to tell the people in the audience not to try and seek revenge for their
wow.
So that's the kind of thing that will happen, and you're sitting there expecting that you want to get grandma's recipe for her apple pie.
Not going to happen, right? That's not the right way to do it.
It's not the thing to do. As I said, physical mediumship is absolutely sensational. It is, for me, somebody asked me, was it what convinced me of the afterlife? And I said, no, well, it's not really. I mean, I'd had 20 years of investigating mediumship. I'd had mental mediumship readings. Victor is clairaudient, and so I'd had plenty of evidence that way. But I tell you what, when you're actually in that room in a physical mediumship seance, it's almost like you're halfway into the afterlife. There is so much love there. There is so much energy there. And when you have a loved one sort of coming and speaking in your ear so that everybody else can hear, it's not just one person. Everybody can hear these reunions. And I always say it's going from believing 100% to knowing 100%.
To knowing. You've actually experienced it.
Was that your experience, Roberta?
Yes, I loved it. It was overwhelming, and I almost don't need to do it again because it was so overwhelming.
Exactly. It's one of those experiences that's saying, right, I know now.
Yeah.
Let me get on with my life.
Right. And I think it's important to stress, too, that this is a very rare kind of ability. Even people who have natural gifts have to sit with their little circle of how many people, 3, 4, 6 people, for I think Craig and Rob have been doing it for like 9 years or something like that.
Like that.
And now they're getting the table tipping, and they're getting quite a lot of phenomena. And we believe that Craig's friend Rob is going to be an excellent physical medium. But it's taken them 9 years of sitting every week and in the dark to get to this point.
And what people don't understand is there has to be absolute harmony in the group. And a lot of groups have broken up after 2 years. Can you imagine that? And you've got to go back to the beginning again.
Start over, right.
Start all over if you have a fight or if you have somebody whose ego is getting there. And see, it takes enormous dedication to do this. You'll find that a lot of people just don't have the stamina. And this is why it's so rare today. People can't do physical mediumship for money or fame. It takes forever, and you have to have this dedicated group. You have to be, and you have to sit for several years not knowing if it's going to happen. At all, right. That's right. At all. You may not have the physical ability to be a physical medium. So it's a fascinating thing, and we do need more groups who are willing to start sitting. I think it's not, if you want to be sort of spectacularly in this field, this isn't quite the way to do it. But if you're interested in exploring something extraordinary and giving a tremendous gift to the world, then you and some friends, especially if one or more of you are psychic, might try this. Because, I mean, I think if I were in a situation where I would want to do it, if I had the opportunity to do it, even though I'm not psychic myself, I could imagine, because you've got to be in the same physical place too. You're more likely in a city to find other people who want to put the effort into this than you would be in a rural area. I think one of the things we're going to try to do at the symposium is help people who are interested in getting started, helping mediums develop, to find others who want to form a circle. But the way the world is today, with everyone moving around and all the electronic entertainment and all of that, this is the kind of thing that made more sense like in the 1800s when people were sitting by candlelight and there wasn't much else to do. It's harder to commit to it now than it ever was. Yes, indeed. But I can always remember talking to David Thompson saying, look, why do you do it? Why are you prepared to put so much of your life into this? Because you have to remember that a physical medium, when there's a marvelous performance or events happening, the medium is unconscious and he doesn't even know what happened. And I can remember sitting with David, and he said, he'll be sitting there. Everybody else will be talking about all these wonderful things that happened.
He wasn't invited.
And he says it's like everybody's been to this marvelous party, and I wasn't invited.
Poor man.
I don't have any idea what even happened.
Oh, my.
And I said, well, why do you do this? And he said, well, let me tell you. He said, many years ago when I started out, there was this one occasion when a grieving father came in, and they had just lost their 5-year-old daughter to cancer. And the father was almost suicidal. She was in the Allman Street Hospital. And that night, the little girl materialized and sat on her mother's lap and played with her mother's earring the way she had done, the way she had always done. And she said those parents were transformed in their grief. Like they knew beyond doubt. One of the most sensational ones, we put a video in the report last week about the Rita Gould seances.
Yes.
And that was an absolutely lovely story. The parents of that boy, of the young man who came through those seances, on the last occasion when he came through, he actually showed himself as an adult, as a grown-up man.
Really?
He had died at the age of 10. And even though it was in the dark, he would be able to shine a little torch on his face. And so they could see this little boy. But he actually came through. He chose initially to come through as a child. Russell, his name was. And he would come through as he was when he died. I think he was 9 years old. But on the last occasion, this was maybe 30 years after he had died, he actually said, I'm going to show you how I look now today. And he manifested as a 30-year-old man, a young man. Isn't that amazing?
Wow. That's beautiful. That's just beautiful. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's going to be going on at the AREI Symposium, where we're going to have some sessions on physical mediumship. It's going to be amazing. Please stick with us. We'll be right back. This is Roberta Grimes, Seek Reality.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Roberta Grimes on Seek Reality, and I always love talking with Wendy Zammit. You know, whenever I talk with her, and she and I talk every week, believe it or not, whenever I talk with her, I always learn something new. And how many friends do you have who are such founts of information? But I think this has been great. This is a field that is going to be hot within the next, say, 5 years, and I think it's wonderful we get to talk about it now. So let's talk about one more kind of mediumship that's rare, that people aren't really so much aware of, and that's trance mediumship. Most of the communications that convinced me that the afterlife is real came through deep trance mediums. Talk about that, Wendy, a little bit.
Well, deep trance, again, is completely different. There are lots of different kinds of trance. There's what you call, in America, you have a lot of what they call channeling, which is sort of overshadowing of the medium. And the medium is still fully conscious, but they are actually aware of what's going on.
Yes.
Now, there are different levels of trance. There are what we call deep trance. The medium is actually unconscious of what's happening. And we've seen David will usually actually the medium in physical mediumship, the medium has to go into trance. Often, mostly it's deep trance, but sometimes, as we said, in independent direct voice, you can have the medium conscious. One of the most wonderful mediums, direct voice mediums, while I think about it, was an American medium named Etta Reed. And she would be conscious, fully conscious, and there would be direct voices, up to 4 voices at once, talking to different people in the room in different languages.
Oh, my goodness.
I wanted to mention her because if people are interested in this, they can find a book on the internet, a free book called The Voices. It was by Admiral Moore, and he wrote about Etta Reed. Michael Tim, who's an expert on mediumship, calls her the best medium ever.
Really?
Absolutely. She would be a fascinating one for people to look up. Etta Reed, Wreidt. But Admiral Moore, The Voices, absolutely fascinating mediumship. But most trance mediumship, most deep trance mediumship, the medium is actually unconscious. Now, we've seen David go into deep trance quite regularly, and William will take over his body. And his whole manner changes, his voice changes, and it's quite sensational. But there have been many, many wonderful trance mediumships in the past. Leonore Piper was a deep trance medium. She was one of the most investigated mediums ever. But yes, deep trance mediumship is actually quite rare.
And now, what's going to be going on at the symposium? This will be the AREI Symposium, September 15th to 17th of 2017. Go to afterlifestudies.org, and we're going to be doing something with physical mediumship there. What are they talking about doing?
Well, there's going to be 5 different sessions on physical mediumship. The Jan van der Sand from Los Angeles is presenting. He's going to be talking about his physical mediumship circle. I think Jan sat with a physical mediumship circle in South Africa many, many years ago, and he had a lot of experiences there. And now he's got his own circle in Los Angeles. There's a circle from New York where they're talking about table tipping. They've got a video out, and you can actually see how it works, which is quite fun.
Wow.
There's going to be Dr. Susan Barnes from Lilydale. She's got a seance room up in Lilydale, and she's been doing some work with photographing ectoplasm and photographing materialized hands and various other aspects of physical mediumship.
Wow.
I think there's going to be a forum on how to actually start sitting for physical mediumship. If you're interested in getting a group going, it can be quite sensational. It can be a lot of fun and a great way of developing great, deep, long lifetime friendships with people.
So it's going to be a lot of fun to be there. There are going to be several circles, I active circles, one of which is Craig Hogan's, that will talk about what their experiences have been and what it's like. This is as I say, this is an area which I think is up and coming. It's sort of an old idea that new again, just because the results can be so amazing. Wendy, how can people reach you? What's up? If people have questions for you.
If people have questions for us, they can have a look at our website, which is www.victorzammit.com/evidence. And there's a whole section there on physical mediumship, which explains all of the things that we've talked about. We've got lots of voices from our own seances with David Thompson on our website. We're on Facebook too. I don't know if people know about it, but we've got a wonderful Facebook group now called Afterlife Research Discussions on Facebook. And people can get on there if they're on Facebook. This is particularly for the afterlife research for the conference. We're trying to get together all the people who are going to the conference, and so they can get to know each other before the conference and keep in touch with each other after the conference.
It's very active. It's amazing. I get all their emails. It's amazing.
Oh, yes.
And everyone, when you are at VictorZammit.com, do sign up for the newsletter. I cannot stress strongly enough how important it is, if you're interested in this field at all, that you get the Zammit's newsletter. It's free, and I can spend a whole week just dipping into it because there's that much information in each one. I don't know how you do it, Wendy, but you make it new every week. It's really amazing.
Right. Well, we'd love to hear from people. As I said, the Afterlife Research and Education Discussion Group is very active. We talk about all of these things. And from the report, people can email us. We're very happy to talk to any of your listeners who are interested.
Well, my dear, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll have Wendy back again whenever, but she's always got stuff to tell us. So hug, sweetie, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, my love.
And everyone, please remember that you, powerful, eternal being, you never began, you never will end, and when you fully get what that means, nothing about your life is going to be the same ever again. Next week, our guest will be Debbie Malone, also from the Sydney area in Australia. And she is a psychic murder detective. She's written a book called Clues from the Beyond. Wendy is very excited about Debbie. She has solved murders, which in some cases have really made a great difference to the parents and the families of the victims. You're really going to find her story fascinating. So please join us next week. And of course, this week, our guest has been my wonderful friend, Wendy Zammit. We do Skype every week, she and I, just to keep in touch. Wendy and her husband, Victor, are the heart of the whole world's afterlife community. They know everyone, and they know what everyone is up to. So just keeping in touch with them through their letter allows you to be right on top of everything, too. My nonfiction books are Liberating Jesus, My Thomas, The Fun of Dying, The Fun of Staying in Touch, The Fun of Growing Forever, and now The Fun of Living Together. You can order them through bookstores on Amazon.com, and they're available as audiobooks now and in 34 languages worldwide. If you ever want to talk about my books, about one of these podcasts, or about anything at all, you can always contact me through robertagrimes.com. I answer every email, and I'd love to hear from people. So please don't hesitate to reach out and get in touch. Just make sure, if you do it, please, to give me your correct email address, because sometimes I'll write a response. This doesn't happen, fortunately, very often, but I'll write a response, and then when I try to send it out, there's no place for it to go because the person has not given quite the correct address. If that's you, if you sent me an email and you never heard from me, that's why. So please just send me another one, and I'm happy to answer that one. Past episodes of Seek Reality are available on webtalkradio.net, on iTunes, and through the Seek Reality app that you can find for free in the iTunes store. Earlier episodes, usually I think from a year ago, are being rebroadcast by our wonderful friends at Dream Vision 7 Radio. I hear from quite a few people who have heard me that way, which is wonderful because it's as if these podcasts never die for me. I get to talk again about something we talked about a year or more ago. I move around a bit, so if you ever wonder where I am now, just go to robertagrimes.com and click on the radio tab, and you'll be able to find me. I don't say this often enough. I am so grateful that you're there. You're the reason why I do all of this, and hearing from you makes me feel as if we are one gigantic circle of friends, and we are working together to raise the consciousness of the planet. And it's happening now, and it is absolutely beautiful to be part of this. And I couldn't do it without you. So again, I am so, so grateful that you're there. We'll talk next week, but meanwhile, please, this has been Seek Reality. Please remember, I'm thinking of you, and I'm thinking about how to engage you and to make you feel even more involved in this wonderful, gigantic project. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you are infinitely loved.